Welcome to Money and You. This is an initiative of the Financial Services Council that aims to grow your financial confidence and well-being. We're talking about work perks today, from flexible working hours to company cars and professional development. Workplaces offer a range of perks to their employees, in addition to a paycheck. Now, in particular right now, when we're in the middle of what's being dubbed the Great Resignation, many of us are rethinking our career goals, our work conditions, and our work-life balance. Employers are being challenged to offer more to their employees, which actually means there's a lot of power in your hands to call the shots. But what should you be asking for? And is health insurance the best work perk of them all? Joining me today to talk about all of this is Kerry Boielle, Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Southern Cross Healthcare Society. Welcome, Kerry, and thanks for joining me today. How are you doing?
Kia ora, Clarissa. Really good, actually. Having a great day, working from home. Again, this flexible working lark has its upsides and it has its downsides.
It definitely does. And now, what do you do at Southern Cross, and where does your interest in this topic around, workplace wellbeing, the future of work, where does that all come from?
All right. At Southern Cross, I've been there for probably about 4.5 years now, and I'm the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer. So I have a fabulous team of people that support our businesses, about 3,500 to 4,000 odd, I should know the number, businesses across New Zealand that provide health insurance to their employees. And they also support them with some really amazing wellbeing programs that they can tailor for their employees. And of course, the marketing team look after our product set and our brand in the market. And I've also got a couple of agile delivery teams. So together we call ourselves the customer growth team, and we're very much all about the customer. In today's world, where I guess the requirements of people when they're thinking about where they want to work and what do they want to do with their time, there's so much more to that than just where will I get paid the most. And so I think at Southern Cross, not only is health insurance a fantastic work perk, but also actually the wellbeing initiatives that wrap around health are pretty fantastic. And it's neat to work in a business that's pushing into that space and making a real difference for people.
That's awesome to hear. So what's your take on this whole phenomenon of the Great Resignation? And, we hear this term all the time in the media. What does it actually mean, and how do you see it sort of playing out in New Zealand, perhaps compared to elsewhere in the world?
Yeah. Look, we've certainly seen a lot of reports of this kind of happening overseas, where there's been a real wave of people reassessing their jobs in the face of the pandemic. And for me, there's probably two real clear drivers of this. And firstly, it's a health crisis. So it's reminding us of our own mortality. And that makes you think about, am I doing what I want to be doing with my life? How am I spending my time? It really sharpens up your priorities and what's really important to you. The second, for me, is no one has been unimpacted. How and where you work has really changed, whether you've lost your job and found a new one and you're doing something different, whether you're working really hard, much harder in the one that you had, or whether you're simply working in a really, really different way. It's been a real catalyst for people to stand back and look at, what do I value? What do I want? Is this what I want to be doing with my time? And so certainly we have seen people making big life-changing decisions. We've seen a lot of people relocate and work, shift to Nelson or, somewhere beautiful and work remotely because now they can, and whereas before that just wasn't accepted. We've seen people retrain and shift. Our business, we've had some challenges filling roles. There seems to be, with full employment and a lack of talent coming into New Zealand with those borders closed, it really has impacted on our ability to fill some critical roles in the business. Industry by industry, I imagine it's quite different. Some industries have been horrifically impacted and others not so much. So In some industries, people are still chasing down the paycheck, and that's the big driver. In others, it's very much about security, stability. In others, it's all about flexibility. So it really is shifting. I do think in New Zealand, with our borders just starting to open again now, we'll see things shift again. And so we'll see, some young people that maybe put their OE plans on hold, dial those back up again and head offshore. And hopefully we'll see some of that talent drain balanced by people coming to New Zealand for our gorgeous lifestyle and our beautiful green environment that we have here. So we shall see, but it's definitely been an interesting phenomenon and one that's been talked about all over the show.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, we are all good to open up and don't have any more hitches in that process. Interesting. So it's something that has been really, I guess, propelled by the pandemic and the situation of so many people working from home and just all these changes that have taken place. Is it something that was really well underway prior to the pandemic that you think's just been sped up, or was it really COVID that drove this?
My view is that it's been sped up. So definitely we were having conversations with people about a little bit more flexibility, getting meaning and purpose out of the job that they're doing, work-life balance becoming more and more, stress, burnout, those types of things were conversations going on. But man, have they sped up through COVID and through the pandemic. So I don't think, rising expectations of people to get not only a good paycheck and good work perks, good benefit package, but actually do meaningful work, do work for a business I feel proud of, and do great stuff. And so I think those stories were there, those requirements were there, but they've really stepped up. The pace has stepped up big time.
So you've talked a bit about, the paycheck, but there's also all these other things that are important to people. And, that's obviously going to be different depending on the person and what your priorities are, right? So a salary is one thing, but what other things should people be looking for, if they are applying for a job, in terms of additional perks beyond just the paycheck?
Look, having a supportive workplace that really genuinely lives its values and promotes a good work-life balance, coupled with flexibility, opportunities to grow and learn, and a good salary package that includes benefits like health insurance, I think is a great place to start. Our research that we do, which we've been running year on year, into what employees are genuinely looking for in an employer, has seen a bit of a shift in this last year. So for a number of years, it's been salary and benefits that came out top. This last year, 2021, saw that shift to the number one position taken out by work-life balance. So quite interesting. For me, I guess advice I'd give to somebody starting out is really step back and think about what's important to you in life. Aside from income, right? There's a baseline that you need because you've got to pay your bills. What do you value the most? Is it flexibility? Is it that work-life balance so that you can juggle some family requirements or some study or travel? Like, what is it that drives you that will make you feel like you're getting the right reward back for the time that you invest? Maybe it's really all about development and growth opportunities and you're really looking for stretch and learning at work. So what is it that drives you? And then have a jolly good look at the different businesses that you're thinking about joining and make sure that what they say they do on the tin, you're seeing turning up in the market. Are they acting and behaving in a way that reflects the values that you want to see and that they purport to have inside their business? So have a good look at that. The culture in a business can be just as important as the money that you earn. I know people that have left one place for a high-paying job and come back because the sacrifice was too great. The monetary reward for a culture that wasn't a good fit for them just wasn't quite worth it. So look for that alignment. Understand the business's approach to supporting your health and well-being. In today's world where there is so much pressure, and fortunately, I mean, I don't know whether there's more pressure or less, but we talk about it more. It's in the open. And so be clear about what it is that you need to flourish and be at your best at work, and make sure that business is up for that conversation and that they've got great wellbeing support, flexibility support, health insurance to put on the table so that you feel like you give your best and you get the best back, I think is really, really important. Equally, I think for employers trying to make sure they can attract the best employees, the best candidates, they need to remember too, a job interview is a two-way process. You're interviewing for the skills you want, and they're interviewing you to make sure that actually they want to work for you. They want to trade their time for your dollar. And so they need to be really open to understanding from employees or potential employees, what do you want? What do you value the most? What's important to you as an individual? And does that fit with us? Can we support you? Can this be a great long-term relationship or not? And we're seeing businesses more and more engaging with us, with Southern Cross, to get more advice around wellbeing packages, wellbeing programs. How do we tailor to support, which is really cool.
That's really interesting, and I think it's a good reminder that when you go into a job interview, it's not just you that's being interviewed. It's a chance for you to also ask questions of the recruiter and of the company, and just delve a bit deeper into some of those things. So I thought that was really, really good advice. So if we look at health insurance as a work perk, and obviously you're of the view that it is a good work perk, what makes it such a good work perk, and how does it stack up against some of the other work perks you might find out there being offered by different companies?
Look, I mean, obviously completely biased, so I have to declare that up front. But for me, it's one of those work perks that it's worth so much more than the face value cost of the premium. If your employer subsidises, and I'll talk about Southern Cross rather than just health insurance, but if your employer subsidises Southern Cross health insurance as part of your package, you won't have to be worried about whether or not you're covered for any pre-existing medical conditions you have. Whereas if you applied for health insurance as an individual, you might find certain existing health conditions are excluded, or you might find you have to pay more for those things to be covered. So a work package with Southern Cross means those things are just automatically covered. You don't have to declare them. You don't have to worry about them. And to some people, that's priceless. They can't get that cover anymore. And so getting it through work is pretty amazing for a lot of people. I hear stories every day from our members who have been able to access the healthcare and the treatment they needed when they had been sitting for a long, long, long time on a public waiting list because they weren't yet at the critical stage. And so for them, it's worth its weight in gold. Overall, I think it means that people can be really confident that whatever turns up, they'll be okay. And I mean, I know that there is a good, we're lucky enough in New Zealand to have a strong public health system, but there are still many aspects that mean people can't always get what they need when they need it. And I remember when I first joined Southern Cross, I went to spend some time with my team around the country and meet some customers just to understand what is this place, what do we do every day, how do we add value. And I met this really lovely older guy down south. He'd recently shifted to a new job. It was a tire fitting company. And when we explained that him and his family now had health insurance, which included some dental cover, he got really emotional. His eyes filled up with tears, and he was so emotional because, disclose, he didn't have a lot of teeth left in his mouth. So he said to me, because his employer was making this dental cover available, his wife and his children could now go and not have the problems that he'd had with his teeth all his life, just because the cost was so prohibitive, he couldn't go and do it. And, you know, to watch an older guy, pretty rough and tough, you know, so self-conscious about something and so excited that he was able to give that, you know, to his family was pretty cool. So, you know, there's a hidden value, I think, that if you don't know you need it, but man, when you need it and you've got it, it's worth its weight in gold. And I could tell you a dozen stories about that. If people were wondering, though, there's a great section on our website which has got some real customer case studies of recordings of people talking about what it means to them and what it's enabled them to do. So if people want to know more, they can go have a look there.
Gosh, that would have been so helpful when I remember one workplace that I joined years ago, and as part of like the induction, they gave you these brochures on certain things, and one of them was, you know, health insurance related. And I just, you know, I was in my 20s. I thought, I'm young, I don't need this. Why would I even think about it? And, you know, I'll fully admit, I just threw it in the bin. Like I didn't even think about it because no one really explained to me any of this stuff, you know. And I think that could have been, really helpful for me to actually understand that it is a real benefit to have, and this is why it can really be life-changing. So that's a really heartwarming story in terms of how it can benefit not just one individual but also their family, their whānau. So thanks for sharing that. Let's say you work for a company and, you know, maybe like me, you just threw a brochure in the bin and didn't even, you know, look at it. And, you know, you're starting to think about, oh, I wonder if my employer actually does offer health insurance as a work perk. How do you go about doing that? And, finding out if they do offer it and what the process is.
Well, depending on the size of your business, I was going to say talk to the HR team, but you know the HR team might be your boss, who might also be the owner occupier. So, so talk to the HR team in the first instance. They'll know, and failing that. Bias again here, Southern Cross is we are the biggest insurer in terms of that business cover space. So we've got close to 4,000 businesses that provide health insurance for their employees. So if they're not sure, give us a call. If they don't already provide it, we can certainly help you to make a case for your employer to get that in place for you.
That was actually going to be my next question. What do you do if you find out they don't offer health insurance, but you think, oh, I really like this as something that's offered? So is that something that you would go directly to the health insurer and sort of work with them, or?
It happens in a multitude of ways. So certainly in the first instance is find out whether or not it is something that is provided already. If it's not, then actually what I would recommend is go and have a look at our website. We've got a dedicated page for businesses, and there's a couple of case studies in there that you could show to your manager, to the business owner, the HR person, which talk about the benefits of it, how it works. There's an easy callback there where you can kind of get a quick quote, get some ideas as to what's involved, how does it work. And so our people, I've got people all around the country, so it doesn't matter where you are. We can come along and take your manager or your HR person through what it is and how it works. And so as I said, there's some great case studies that set out not only the benefits I've talked about for the individual, but they also set out the benefits for the business. Things like actually getting your people back to work quickly if they do suffer from something. And I think there's got stats in there around waiting lists, and people with private health insurance typically are done and dusted and back to work in less than half the time as if you go through public. So it's got all of that good data that will help to make the case for your employer.
Brilliant. So there's benefits to the employer as well as the employee. If there are any employers out there watching, then take note.
Give me a call.
Now, if you do already have health insurance set up with your employer, does it work the same way as if you have an individual policy in terms of, if you want to make any changes to it, find out what it covers, what it doesn't cover? Is it similar? Do you go to your employer to find out? Do you go directly to Southern Cross or your health insurer? How does that work?
The health insurance policy is a contract between the health insurer and the individual that has the policy. So while the employer pays for it or may pay for a portion of it, the insurance policy is yours. And so any changes you want to make, you're able to do that directly. You don't need to go through your employer. Your employer will have no idea if you're claiming or not claiming or what you're claiming for. It's completely separate from them. Most insurance companies, certainly Southern Cross do, we've got a great app which you can go in and you can see what you're covered for, what you've claimed on, how much benefit you've got left to claim for physio, for example. You can make a claim inside the app, so you don't need to fill screeds of paperwork in or do anything complicated if we didn't cover it for you at the point of your procedure. So if it's a big thing, it's typically paid directly to the provider, so you don't have to shell out thousands of dollars and wait to claim back. But you can administer everything, and it's generally pretty much all digital. But we've got a fantastic contact centre, and so they can take care of anything anybody needs as well.
Oh, that's good to know. I think I sort of had this preconception that you'd sort of have to go through your employer in order to make changes. So that's definitely great to hear. I guess my only other question for you is, in terms of what you're seeing and looking ahead, as we start to open up again, as, this whole great resignation is sort of changing the way that we think about work and employers are thinking about their employees. Do you feel like more businesses in New Zealand are going to start offering health insurance as a perk? Are you seeing that there's a movement there towards offering it?
Yeah, we've definitely seen. I mean, year on year, we continue to grow, and actually, this last 6 months, I guess, we've grown even faster than we had the previous 6 months. So we're definitely seeing both employers and employees interested. We're seeing employees saying to their boss, you need to make it really good for me to stay here. There's great stuff out in the market. I look at other players, other employers in the same industry, and they're providing health insurance and we're not. And so we are getting a lot more inquiries. The volume has stepped up. And also from employers looking and going, wow, we're pretty much at full employment here in New Zealand. I'm wanting to attract either talent from offshore when the borders open or great talent in the market. I'll probably need to have health insurance in the mix. If you are wanting to attract offshore workers, health insurance is very, very common as a work perk overseas, way more so than it is here. And so it's one of those things that somebody looking to move countries will often be going, if they don't provide health insurance, am I safe to move there? They'll absolutely be looking for it, not as a nice to have, but as a must have.
So it's one of those things, I guess, to stay competitive and attract that top talent. It's a good thing to offer.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not all about the salary package. It's the whole package. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today, Kerry. It was really good to chat to you, and there's so many more questions that I'd love to ask, but we might wrap it up there. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all your insights, and yeah, it was great to have you on the show.
Great, thanks for having me.